Our indiscipline as a people and as a population is manifested on our roads, it is manifested in our markets, it is manifested everywhere. We see it with our leaders at all levels.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am your anchorman, Bovet Maloba. Welcome to another edition of us talking about Africa. Today, we'll be talking precisely on the problems we face in Africa and the proposed solutions. I'm here in the studio with Mr. George Ngongang, a business administrator and an entrepreneur. We also have Mr. Shey Kaavi of the Amazonian Governing Council with us today. So, Mr. George Ngongang, can you introduce yourself, please?
Thank you for inviting me. My name is George Ngongang. I'm from Cameroon, marketing expert and entrepreneur. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much. And what about your company? You said you're an entrepreneur.
Yes, I have created with some friends my company who is called Kalao, Kalao.cm, which is a business directory for Cameroon, and with the goal to enter other African markets, to provide company information to the public and our users.
Okay, that's very good. Okay, now our own very Shey Kaavi or Melim. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Right, thanks for having me, Mr. Bovet. I am called Shey Kaavi. Those are my real names, and Shey Kaavi or Melim is a kind of, I'm very proud of my origin. From my village where I come from is called Melim. That is in the southern Cameroons, call it Ambazonia if you want. And I reside in Belgium, and I'm the member of the AGC, the Amazonian Governing Council, the block by block movement, as people want to call it, with the sign.
Okay.
So thanks for having me here.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you coming all the way from Belgium. We know it's not easy. Okay, so we'll go straight to our questions. Mr. George Ngongang, we'll start with you.
Sure, sir.
What do you think are some of the problems we face in Africa, sir?
Yeah, I mean, we have different problems in Africa, but we also have some solutions in Africa, which are different from what we have seen everywhere else. So Africans are developing their own solutions, but precisely, maybe you can mention some specific point that you want me to talk about.
Yeah, as a business professional, as a business leader, a project coordinator, from that profession, what are the things you think that Africans are lacking? What are those things?
Yeah, so I think that one of the key things that we are lacking a lot is education. The right education that matches the need for what we want to achieve. Many people have some general education, and sometimes they lack the skill to work on what they want to do, and also they continue to not always offer all the skills that they need to build their business. That's one thing. The second thing is the economic environment. In many countries, the economic environment is not encouraging enough, it's not boosting the initiatives. And the last thing is financing. Financing is a big challenge in many of the countries, not because there's no money in the country, but only because there's no vehicle where people can put the money and also know that they'll get the return. And those vehicles that can inject money in the economy and encourage people who are creating their own business. Least not last, it's also the mentality. Mentality is a big handicap to our development, because most Africans are missing the chance to create great business, sometimes because they are not always honest against their partners, and we really need some education there on how successful business has worked how successful business leaders has worked as a team to achieve great successes. So we still need to have some more education there. We need to have some more experience there. We need to have some mentality check there so that people can know that it's a requirement if they want to be successful. They want to work as a team. They want to be honest, and they want to be trustful to make sure that the initiative they are starting will be successful.
Okay. You have just listed some of the things, but I hope you're going to come back to expatiate on those points.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's very good. So now we go to Mr. Shey Kaavi. Sir, can you just tell us some of the problems we face in Africa?
Yeah, the problems we face in Africa, they are too much, so that when you start thinking about it, you can start sinking and collapsing on it. I think the load is too much. And first of all, the problem that really carries Africa to where Africa is today is Africans themselves. And if we should say it's Africans themselves, then we should begin from our government. Because I want to say the Africans, especially Black Africa, has a problem. And that problem is Africans they don't know how to rule any country. They don't know how to run even a business. Because what I'm saying is because when you look at Africa today, you see that we kind of, because of colonialism, we kind of push the blame so much onto the white man. Every day we have France has done this, Britain has done this, America has done this. I think it is high time we take a step back and look at ourselves. What have we done? Because I want to say every human being has some degree of self-centeredness in him or her. And I want to believe if France comes to Africa and lure African countries to be giving her monies as they are giving, in fact, you don't blame France. Every country wants to be rich at the expense of anything. You blame our leaders for being that stupid, giving France what France wants, while we have nothing. Mm-hmm. So I want to believe that we should start from our leaders to say, no, please, this young generation of African youth have come of age. They have seen a lot, and this has to stop. In fact, we have to put an end to it, because if you look at African leaders today, example I'll quote to you, South Africa. I'm not saying that apartheid was good. Nobody can ever say apartheid was good. But I think when you look at economic-wise, South Africa was better than it is today. South Africa went from, let's say, 87% progress to about 45% now when it was given to a black man. So we should first of all take a step and look at ourselves to see what is really wrong with us. Is there a problem? How do we solve it? And if to solve this problem that I'm saying is because we should first of all stop thinking about our relationship with people before offering them jobs. We should stop thinking about what we will gain from this person, what political gain we will gain from this person before giving them jobs. We should look at their intellectual capacity to handle what we are handling to them. Then Africa will be better. Because we will start giving things because of tribalism or because of friendship, favoritism. You can name the rest. Then we'll remember where we are, because that is Africa for us. So I also want to think that we have this colonial problem, which is still facing us in Africa so much. And this colonial problem, especially in French territorial Africa, the Francophone zones, because let me tell you, they are not free today. Because he who controls your economy controls your politics. They control everything in Africa, because they gave us some kind of a photocopy of independence. The original is still with them. Because they still control our economy, they still control our political system. Do you know how much African countries pays in the French treasury every year for France CFA? Let me tell you, in a minute, do you know how much France the French treasury gain because we are using France CFA, it's a very big problem. It's a very big problem. And until African countries realizes that Africa is better without France, we will still be where we are. France is one of the highest exporter of timber and fuel in Europe, but they don't have a single tree. Where is it coming from? Africa. They milk us dry. Why we remain where we are? Because they play games with our stooges, with the leaders, those who call leaders. But it is high time this young generation of Africans put an end to this madness, because it is really madness, it's drunkenness. Let Africa also go out to make trade deals that profit Africa. You know, so we should first of all take this step that I'm saying and look at ourselves and see how we can come out with meaningful solutions that can help the young generation, because some of us are soon passing away. But we should prepare a better place for the young African children that are still to come. Then Africa also has a problem with when it comes to taxation, because when you look at the taxation policies in African states, it's a sham. Many of the time it's a sham. In fact, there is no policy. It's just like, for example, in that piece of a yam called Cameroon, in fact, there is no taxation policy. I ran a business in Cameroon before coming here. Somebody will just come to your store. They just look at what you have in your store. They don't think about the sales. What you have in your stores determine your tax. If there are so many goods in your stores, then that is so much tax you will pay. They don't think that maybe you have this goods, but in a month or in a year, you sell just 50, let's say 50,000 francs, and you are paying a tax of 100,000 francs. How do you succeed? So they should make a policy that works for everybody. You pay your taxes according to sales. You see, there was a dramatic solution that one woman did in a shop where I was. When when the taxation company was coming, they went into their store and they had to remove certain goods and heat under the bed, so that the taxation people will come and see the shop almost dry. And then that's how the tax was low. So in fact, there's no policy, because the person that comes there determines what tax you pay. And how do we know all that money gets into the treasury? So those are some of the problems we have in Africa, that we have to take a step back and look and see how we can kind of bring it to the limelight and have a common platform for which every businessman can flow. You know, the rich should not get richer and the poor get poorer. And even those who are trying to start small young businesses cannot start because they pay more tax than what they gain. So there is no business. They go back to the street. So Africa should really look into this situations I'm talking about. You see, another problem is the kind of education that we have in Africa. Our educational system is not that one that builds an African mind. It is that one that gives you a broad idea of so many things without making you a specialist in anything. Like you see, in African countries, we are still reading Vasco da Gama discovered the sea road to India. Christopher Columbus was it. What the heck are we doing with those things? You ask somebody here in Europe, do you know Vasco da Gama? Who was Vasco da Gama? But you go to Africa, do you know Vasco da Gama? Yeah. He discovered the sea road to India. What are we doing with it? But you ask somebody here a scientific question, a technological question, the person gives you the answer to that scientific question or to that technological question. They don't go to read about people on what they did. How do you help impact the society with that tomorrow? That is what we see teaching our kids back in Africa. Teaching them ancient history, how some people went to this and that. Sometimes it's just good. It's not that they should not teach them that ancient history, but it should be in a passive form, just to build a background to step forward. So I'm thinking that our educational system must be kind of remade to fit Africans as we should be. So I think I will be coming back again to throw more light on certain things that I really think are really pertinent as far as the African continent is concerned. Thanks a lot.
Okay, that's very good, Mr. Shey Kaavi. You've touched about 4 points, very, very interesting points. We'll have to go back to Mr. Ngongang. You listed some points. Can you try to expatiate on those points, please?
Yes, thank you for giving me back the speech again. One of the points that I mentioned was first the education. I think my colleague mentioned it already, saying how the education we are having is not matching the need that we have. An example, I started my company in Germany. I hired some developers in Germany, and it was becoming too expensive. I decided to hire people in Cameroon to move the development from Germany to Cameroon. I hired 2 guys there, website developer. I had them for 8 months or 9 months, but they couldn't do anything. Really basic technology where you can find help everywhere on the internet. And they were not able to help me to build a website that works. And this makes us a very damaging situation, because our investor money was gone. We pay rent, we pay everything, we still didn't have a platform working. So I have to take the work back again to Poland, to a developer in Poland, who was costing me 3 times more.
You see?
So this money could have stayed in the country. So the quality of the education doesn't fit the standard of the world. So it's still a lot to be done in that sense. This one.
Okay. Can I ask you a question?
Right, so
What do you think is the problem? Is it that African education is outdated? Because I hear some people, some critics say that the system of education we have now is the one that was left by the colonial masters 50 years ago, and that we have not improved on it. Is it that the system is outdated? Is it that our system is so theoretical, we don't do practicals? What is the problem?
So, you're absolutely right. So one of the key things that is damaging here is that I think you have observed that for Cameroon, for instance, there's been a liberalization on the higher education. There have been many colleges, private colleges has popped up everywhere. But the people who own those colleges are mostly looking to earn money, but they don't really look at the people that we are educating here got the standard to work in India, to work in Europe, to work in China, to work in... So they don't look at that. They just earn money and they provide whatever they give to kids. And they don't get the kids the skill that they need to be able to grow and be able to challenge with other kids from China, all over the world. So this one thing is the behavior of the people who are just making money and not making sure that what the kids are receiving fits with what the market needs. These are for private, but also the public education is still very broad. You know, our French education is from France, and most of the time it has been too theoretical. Even French university, I went to French university, it's still very theoretical. If you have a bachelor in the French university, most of the time you have nothing about the praxis. You have no praxis anywhere. You have not been in a company, and so on. It's still the same. And we are really missing the education that train people to be productive and to help the economy to build up. This is something that's missing. So the content of the education doesn't fit to the level of education that other places in the world are. And now we are in the globalized world. It means that the application you are developing in Africa is the same application that's being used everywhere else. So you cannot create your own thing. You are using the same thing that other people are using. So we have to be at the level. This is one of the challenges. So the old education system that we inherited, but also the fact that there's no innovation coming into people creating private institutions and looking abroad what is happening to make sure that they get the quality education that is required to match the development that we need. This is what education is.
Okay. It's such a shame that the 21st century, we have so many doctors in Africa, so many doctors who are engineers, but we cannot fix our own roads in Africa. It's so embarrassing that our doctors cannot match their counterparts abroad. Do you think we should do what they call apprenticeship in our schools to improve?
So the apprenticeship also is always tied to a company environment.
Yes.
Most of the time, I went to school to Germany. Germany is a leader in apprenticeship, I think, and many people, many of those people going to through apprenticeship, they have education, theoretical education, maybe once a week, and they are working into a company. So we need so many companies who have some quality level, who have some innovation to get the student there to learn at the same time. I don't think we have enough infrastructure to help all those people who want to do apprenticeship. But again, apprenticeship, what I want to say is that the practical part has to be added in any education that we are doing. And this practical part had to be in context with our needs. Agriculture, how can you transform your cassava? How can you transform your rice? How can you transform your maize? Our students need to know how they can build their own equipment to transform the product that is coming from the country. So here the challenge is how can we transform our own goods without relying on anything coming from abroad, from China or whatever. This is where we have to go. And as soon as we will be able to build our own machine, transform our own good, have people to do maintenance of those machines, have people to innovate on new machines, that's when we will start to really build a sustainable economy. This is my belief.
Okay. Talking about fabricating our own machines to continue the production process, do you think with the level of education, the kind of education we have in Africa, do we have people in Africa who can fabricate these machines, or should we turn towards the diaspora, the African diaspora? Because I know we have so many qualified people. I've spoken to many of them, many doctors abroad in Germany, France, England, America, who can do these things. Should we turn towards the diaspora?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking this. I believe that the economic progress in Africa, it's really depending how the diaspora wants to get involved. Because these skills that I'm saying we miss, we have so many in the diaspora, everywhere, in America, in India, in China, in Europe, who are the best in their company in this area. But they don't come to the point to go back in their country and give back these skills. Why? Because they feel comfortable where they are. Second, some have tried and they were not so welcome in the country. They find it was too difficult. Maybe the tribal people were not honest. Maybe the government taxes were too high, and so on, and they gave up. But you know, if you are comfortable already in Europe, in America, and you go and give it a try and it just failed, what do? You just go back. So, but I think the diaspora have to be more persistent. They have to stay more. They have to try more. They have to insist and make sure that they bring really their skills down. This is a big opportunity for us. Many Africans have gone abroad. They have learned from the best school. They are working in the best company in the world, Apple, Facebook. If you go there, you will find Africans there. They have to bring their skills back to the continent. It's just for one example. A friend of mine who studied in Germany worked for a big car producer in Germany, negotiated a contract with this big car manufacturer, started a dealership for this car manufacturer in Africa. At the same time, negotiated with the school who is training the employee of this big manufacturer in Germany to open this similar school in the country, with the same machinery that in the university in Germany. Today, 40 Africans are going in this training. They are learning how to build cars, learning how cars are working, and after they are going in his dealership to repair cars. This is the type of experience that the continent needs. Concrete, real. And this company even offer them an experimental car where they can experiment their all other theory, and they have the dealership who have a garage where they can go and learn. This is the time of partnership we need. This is the time of involvement we need. And you know what? This African great guy had just left Europe, go down. He is on the continent, watching the school every day, watching the dealership every day, adjusting every day, and make sure that we need this more and more. And I do believe that if many in the diaspora get involved with their skills, do partnership with great companies. European companies are open, American companies are open. If we go to them and tell them that we want to help our continent with their skills, many are open to help, but we just have to take this risk, we just have to take this way, and this is our challenge. Even the leaders who are there and doing whatever we see, we hear, we need to push them. And if we are doing this initiative, they will feel pushed. They will feel they will not have the choice to bring the environment that is required to be successful, because the skills will be there. We will be asking them every day what we need. Today, many people in Africa, they don't even know what they need, because the education, they only see the continent, the education is poor, the experience is poor, they have no role models around them in terms of successful technological or whatever industry, and the diaspora needs to bring this new energy in the continent.
Okay.
They have to bring their skill in the continent and push on our leaders to make a better frame for the economy, for the development, for creativity.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ngongang. I have a question for you. You are a business expert,
Right.
and I know companies have been running behind you. You worked in Germany, so many companies were behind you, and that's the same case today. You're working in Luxembourg, and
Right.
everybody wants you.
Right.
Will you be able to go to Africa today if an African country needs you, even if it means that they are going to pay you a little bit lesser than what you gain here in Europe? Would you relocate to Africa?
I will pack right now.
Are you sure?
I will pack right now.
Okay, thank you
Because
very much.
what makes us move is seeing how we are contributing to a better life.
That's
And
good.
me moving back there is helping people around me, helping to create new jobs, helping to improve the economy, helping to push things forward. And that's exactly what I've done with my business. And my business is there helping people to find companies, to find product that they need in one click. Yesterday they were calling friends and family and so on. We have built up a website, a portal with all the business information and products, and today they just go online, find a company, call them, and make their deals.
Talking about your business, can you tell us the name of your business again?
Kalao, QALAOO.cn.
So where is it based?
It's based in Cameroon right now.
Yeah, so what is...
It's a business directory. It's mean like page jaune in France or yellow pages in America, or gelbe Seite in Deutschland, in Germany. So it's like a business directory. If you are looking for a company, if you are looking for a product, you can just type the name of the product on Google with the country or with the district, and it just bring you to Kala, or you go directly on the website, you type your company that you are looking for, the location you are looking for, you get the list. Maybe you are looking for a barber, or you are looking for a dresser, or you are looking for a hotel, or you are looking, I don't know, for a warehouse, hardware store. You will find it on the website.
Okay, thank you very much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
George Ngongang.
Thank you.
According to Dr. Ebenezer, Mr. Shey Kaavi is a defender of the Amazonian people. We discovered that you have much popularity among the Southern Cameroonians. Mr. Shey, can you continue with your point, sir?
Yeah, okay, so talking about popularity, for that, I don't know, maybe you know better.
I know.
I'm always very scared when people start talking about popularity, because It gives some kind of illusion.
Yeah,
I think my brother here made some very pertinent points that I was not in my head, if you notice, and about our quality of education. Yeah, he is very right. He's very, very correct. Sometimes you see that in most cases, our quality of education is a sham. I'm not saying that we are not intelligent. I want to believe that the black man was born intelligent. But we have a problem, and that problem is us, because we are very intelligent but very careless. We are very intelligent but very selfish, and we are selfish even unto ourselves. We are very intelligent but very lazy. We are very intelligent but we don't make use of time. If we have a problem today, it's the use of time, especially us from the very black continent of Africa.
Sub-Saharan Africa.
Yes. You know, here I discovered that when you see somebody with a PhD, that person has some work to show for. But in Africa, you see somebody with a PhD, you ask him or her, what have you done?
Nothing.
His problem is his PhD. Do you know how much I read to have this? That is what they have. I used to say, a madman in a psycho home who can distinguish his right hand from his left hand is more important to the society than a man with a PhD who cannot defend a single truth or who has nothing to show for that can benefit or impact change in the society. I do not qualify education by the number of PhDs or diplomas you have. Me, I qualify education by what you can do to impact some meaningful change in the society that you live. To me, that is, it's not everybody who passes through school is educated. It's not, you can pass through school, but school never passes through you. You just glide through. Yeah, so what my brother said here is very, very pertinent. We really need to start back, go back to the root and shift the form of education we give. I'm telling you, it is very true that in some African countries, you see somebody who studies science, because science deals a lot with practicals. You cannot really study science and you are in a very high level and you don't go into practicals.
No laboratories?
No laboratories. It's only arts that your practical is your pen and your paper and what comes from your head. You know, you can see somebody in Africa who studies science right to the level of advanced level, who has never used a Bunsen burner, a conical flask, or they have never used a round bottom flask. They don't even know what that is. Then how did they do their practicals? We need, our governments need to bring in such instruments so that the children start being used to them as level of maybe from 3, from 4. Because what I notice here is, it is very easy here to orientate your child when your child already have some level of degree in science. You start buying some science toys and science things and giving to them. But in our own state, we start buying our children guns, you know, toy guns. You know, we start buying them toy cars, you know. But here, what I notice is they buy their children some toy funny games. You know, they're building blocks. You know, there are things like that. It shapes the brain of the child. You know, but for us, we do not think about that. So education begins sometimes from a very tender age, because at that age it is garbage in, garbage out. What you put into a child's head, that is what you will have. Because a child's brain is like a piece of, it's like a white paper that has not been stained. It is when the child is growing and is reaching at a very certain age that you start staining it with black dots, with knowledge. Those black dots are knowledge. If you stain it with shit knowledge, that's the shit knowledge the child will be growing with. So we should struggle to screen what type of knowledge we stain our child's brain with as they grow. Because psychologically, that's what helps the child. So our education should begin from our homes, out to the society, and up to the upper level. But our governments need to do much, because our children really need those materials to work with. But instead of subsidizing beer, cigarette, and other things, that should subsidize play toys for children that builds blocks or have some kind of technological know-how, than subsidizing things that are not very useful for the society. Yeah, like I was saying, we also have a problem with health.
Okay, before you go to health, sir, I also want to expand a little on that children issue, on the children point you made. Yeah, it's very true. When the children are very young, whatever you put into them is what will come back to you. Yes. The other time I went to a library here in France, and I was very, very surprised that children as young as 3, they had their own area where they would go and get their books. And so I was very curious when so many young children, somewhere like 2.5, somewhere 3, were running towards that area. So I decided
Reading
to go.
habit.
Yes, I decided to go after them to see what they are going to do. I was so surprised that they were going to a particular area where they sell books for 2 years, 3 years. And I was just like, can these children read? How can they read? I was observant and I was watching them. I realized that these people, what they had was audiobooks. The children will go there, you will see small books, but when they touch the book, whatever is written there will also be
Pronounced.
become audible, you know, like audiobooks. I was like, wow, how interesting. They managed to capture these children's interest with audio. These are the things we should also do in Africa to win the interest of our children. In Africa, at 10, some children cannot still read. They are not even interested. But you see here, 3 years, they are already reading. And by the age of 40, some Europeans must have read about 80 books. But in Africa, a part of the books we use in school, when people come out of school in Africa, the only thing they read is either the Bible or the Quran. Many people are not interested in reading any other thing. It is shocking. How can you be exposed? How can you grow? How can you be mature when you don't read? Most of the time, you see Africans, they are with earphones, listening to music. It's embarrassing. How can we grow without reading? So, I was just trying to confirm the point you made about children. It's very important. The quality of education you give to your children, the kind of training you give them is what will come back to you. Okay, sir, can you continue with your next point?
Yeah, my next point was to talk about the health system in Africa, because we really have a very big problem. And those of us who are some kind of revolutionaries, where, you know, we come here, we see things, and then we start thinking about what is back home, and then we struggle to see how we can change things, you know. Those are the type of people that impact society, they change, meaningful change back in their countries. But to the government that is in power, we are kind of rebellion. They see that we are instead rebelling against them. It's because we have come here, we have seen how people are living, we have seen the type of life that is here. And we say, what is difficult for us back home, having this type of life? And ironically, or what baffles some of us is, we have a very poor quality of health back home. And the well-to-do in Africa, they really know that the health system is very poor, that they themselves cannot attain our hospitals. You see, when they are sick, where do they run to? They run to Europe to meet us here, to use those same machines that we have seen here, and we are asking them to buy and send home so that our people can be using, you know. So we really need to come out like Africans and look for a common health system that can befit everybody, you know, not health for the rich and let the poor go where they are supposed to go, 6 feet deep as early as possible, because that's the solution in Africa as far as health is concerned. The poor die at some certain ages that they were not supposed to die. I'm not telling you a lie. I used to tell my friends, if you leave Europe, if you leave Africa and you get to Europe or America, please thank your God and add plus 15 years to your age. Because there are people in Africa who have died from little illnesses that if they were here, they would have survived, you know. We also know that most of these medicines are produced from natural herbs that grows even around, they're just wild grass in Africa, you know, but we don't use it because we do not invest quality time on we do not invest quality time on health, which is very, very dangerous, because I believe that as a human being, the first thing, or the first priority as far as allocating budget is concerned should be on the health sector. But in Africa is the opposite. Instead of investing on the health sector, they invest on, you see, most of the presidents in Africa, since they are dictators, they invest on their protection, you know, on the military first. You would think that they are investing on the military so as to protect the country. In fact, if you see, most of the budget in the military goes to the presidential guard, on the people around the president, and not for the whole country. So we have to invest on people who know some kind of African traditional medicines. Because one thing that the African continent is doing is they kind of downplay our African traditional doctors, because they are the same natural herbs that they use, that these people come to Africa and harvest to make Nevaquin. But if we can know that, okay, this person, when this guy had this stomach problem, he went to this traditional doctor and he gave him this and this herbs to drink, and that problem subsided. Now, why not invest money on that guy to see what that herbs contain, and how you can produce that herb in a way that will look like the one that is coming from Europe, you know? Mm-hmm. And because if we invest so much on that, we'll start making our own medicines. Mm-hmm. China does not import medicines from Europe. China believes in herbs more than any other country in the world. And do you know the lifespan of Chinese? They live longer than we think. Mm-hmm. They don't import most of these things. They use the herbs they have in China, you know, the ginseng root, ginseng seed, the ginseng, and all those type of things. It's from China. Those are mere roots, leaves, and so we have abundance. Mm-hmm. Africa has all, but we enjoy nothing. So we really have to play with this health problem. And when it comes to health, one thing I know about Africans is that they are wicked. Because like just some few days ago, there is a lady who died because she was hit by a bike. She went to the hospital in Bamenda. She went to the hospital. There was no money to start her treatment. And they called the sister of the lady here in Europe, and the lady sent money. And since there was no internet in Bamenda, they could not even claim the money. So they started running, telling the doctor that there is money coming, but there is no internet now. Please, can you work today since it's Saturday, and we'll bring you the money on Monday? Doctor said no. They're not working. The girl was there, lying there, internal bleeding, you know, and she died. Like the other one I was telling you just yesterday, who died because she could not breathe, you know, water on the stomach and all those type of things. I made the x-ray, I've seen that she had difficulties in breathing. You know, they came and said the oxygen, that all the oxygens are occupied. There's no other oxygen. She has to wait until some other person is not using oxygen. She stayed in the hospital for 2 days. And then another nurse came and said, look, they want you to give something. You know, they went and looked for money. When they came, the oxygen was coming. It was too late. The third day, the lady died. So that is Africa for us. Until we build some kind of a psychology to know that everybody is important. Even if it is your sister or it's not your sister, your brother or it's not your brother, then Africa will go nowhere. We have to change. It must begin from us. We clean ourselves before we are looking at or pointing fingers at other people. So,
okay. Concerning this point, it is a shame that in most sub-Saharan African countries, only about 5% of the people live over 60 years. It is so disturbing. And I think the parliaments in African countries should look into this situation, because it is so disturbing to know that even the Minister of Health travels abroad when he is sick. which means he knows he's not carrying out his responsibility. You cannot be the Minister of Health and you're sick and you travel abroad. That means you're not doing your job. So the African parliaments should look into this issue. They should put some kind of restriction on traveling for health. I don't see why the president must travel abroad when he's sick. I don't see why ministers must travel abroad when they are sick. They should put good hospitals in place. Why should the poor be dying? They should put good hospitals in place because the poor people don't have money to travel abroad for treatment. They don't care. The rich don't care. Each time they are sick, they travel abroad because they can embezzle money from the country and travel abroad. So the African parliaments are there. They are not there for themselves. They are there to represent the people. They should speak for the people. They should put in place laws that will restrict traveling for health purposes so that the ministers or presidents, whoever is in control, should make sure we have befitting hospitals that can take care of our people. Mr. Ngongang, do you have some contribution on health, please?
Again, I have said, I think I do believe that on health we also have the same problem. Skills, that I was saying before, we don't have a working health system because, you know, if you look here in Europe or in America, America is maybe with the Obamacare, you have, most people have health insurance. With the health insurance, the issue that my brother was just talking about will not happen. Because when you get to the hospital here, you just show your health insurance card and you are taken care. Even if you don't have it, they cannot let you die because they know that you are insured and that they will get paid. So this system of health insurance is something that is really critical for the population. Everybody can contribute. You just pay a little thing in the insurance, and when you are sick, you can take the basic stuff, even if you still have to pay some portion of medicines and so on and so forth. So this is a government issue. Private company cannot really build a health system as we are saying. But again, I do believe that because the ministers and the government members are going abroad to get treatment, this is also an opportunity for our friends and brothers who are in the diaspora, who are working in great hospitals, to think about how they can syndicate and start creating first-class health system in the countries as private institutions. Because, and one thing that is always blocking our brothers here from the diaspora is that most of them want to build their own hospital. They want to just come down, have their own hospital. I've told you before about the case of a friend of mine who started a faculty in one university. This is an existing university. He just add another faculty to the university or another specialty, which brings the skills that he wants to bring into the country. The same, our brother and sister who are abroad can bring their specialty maybe to a private existing hospital, find a deal with the hospital, and say, you know what, I will bring my skills, I'm a specialist in this field, I will bring my skills to you, you will give a room to me, and we will share the revenue of this, or I will bring my equipment, place in your hospital, and so see how we can work. We from abroad can work with the local private things to create an ecosystem that can help everybody. And this is an opportunity to say that there's no hospital structure that can help so that our member of government are going. This opportunity to partner with the local private hospital to bring new specialties so that maybe they will see us as the first help before they get their visa or whatever. So this is an opportunity. I'm still saying the diaspora for me is the key to the African development. But this diaspora had to be more courageous, have to leave their comfort zone where they are in now, living this great life in New York, in Boston, San Francisco, in Paris, in London. They have to leave this and bring their leaves, partner with the local, and help the country. And they will get great opportunities.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ngongang. Also, I also have a rebuke for the people in Africa. Now, this time around, I'm not talking to the rich, I'm not talking to the ministers or the parliamentarians, I'm talking about the local people the layman in the street.
Right.
They have this culture of drinking, because
Right.
we are talking about health.
Right.
Yeah, morning, afternoon, evening, they are on alcohol.
Right.
They are on cigarettes.
Right.
These things are practically of no use to them.
Right.
There's a lot of money that they can keep aside
Right.
to do their medical checkups. Can you imagine that people live in Africa from 0 to 30 years without even one complete medical checkup? It is terrible. How you cannot live for long if you don't go for constant medical checkup to know the state of your body. You understand? I also think, yes, the people are so negligent. They don't really concentrate on their own health. It's always drinking. Too much alcohol will destroy your liver. There's no way you can take alcohol morning, afternoon, evening, every day for 3 years without having a health problem.
Absolutely.
So they should be warned. They should think about their health. They should go for regular medical checkups, complete medical checkup. It's not too expensive. That money that you take for cigarette and alcohol can do these things.
The question is your generation going to be the generation that will liberate us? On the evidence that I have, I do not think I'm confident. On the available evidence, I do not think so. Why don't I think so? Because your generation is attracted to that which is European and American. Young men and women, what are you seeking? The green card. And I've said it in different forums. Young men and women are dying in the Mediterranean when they want to go to Europe and America. Young men and women are attracted to things that are not African.